I wake to a soft glow filtering through the slats of the window blinds, the pale light revealing the modest contours of our downtown Austin apartment. The familiar hum of the city outside is muted by the quiet within, replaced by a subtle sense that something is amiss. Today, like a whispered secret, the air feels different, a delicate alteration in the routine that governs my every morning. Charles, my husband, left early for an important conference, leaving me alone with Jordan, my teenage stepson. As I stretch and rise from the bed, I can't help but feel that the house, usually a haven of our daily rhythms, now harbors a new, unspoken tension. The silence speaks volumes. I proceed with my morning rituals, each movement in the kitchen a deliberate attempt to maintain order amidst an inner disquiet. With measured care, I set about preparing breakfast, the clink of dishes and the sound of the kettle forming a fragile symphony against the backdrop of a day that promises to be anything but ordinary. My thoughts drift back to yesterday evening, replaying Charles's words about Jordan's growing distance. I remember the cadence of his voice, the unintentional pause that hinted at deeper concerns that now echo in the quiet of this morning. As I pour freshly brewed coffee into my favorite mug, a warm yet bittersweet aroma fills the air. It serves as a reminder of both comfort and the questions that have begun to crowd my mind. Had I overlooked the signs? Did I miss a moment of vulnerability that now seems to define our home? A gentle strain of jazz music, soft and introspective, drifts from Jordan's room down the hallway. The melody, usually a sign of his creative spirit, today carries an unfamiliar weight. I pause at the threshold, listening to the subdued notes, aware that behind them lies a pensive silence. Jordan appears absorbed in his own thoughts, the usual spark in his eyes tempered by a reflective mood. I decide not to intrude immediately, understanding that sometimes the quiet spaces in our lives are meant for solitary contemplation. As I arrange the table for breakfast, I can't help but notice the stark contrast between the vibrant energy pulsing outside and the introspective calm inside. The small details, the aroma of toast crisping in the toaster, the gentle clatter of cutlery, and the muted jazz from down the hall, seem to form a fragile mosaic of our current reality. With every passing moment, I sense that the events of yesterday have subtly woven themselves into the fabric of today, leaving me to wonder what revelations this uncertain dawn might eventually bring. I take a deep breath and raise my coffee cup in silent acknowledgement of the day ahead, a day filled with the quiet promise of answers, however elusive they may be. In the quiet after the early morning bustle, my mind drifts back to the conversation from last night, a dialogue that now feels like a series of half-remembered whispers echoing through the corridors of my thoughts. As I stand in the soft glow of the kitchen light, stirring a cup of lukewarm coffee, the recollections resurface with unexpected clarity. Charles's words, carefully chosen and yet laced with an unmistakable heaviness, replay in my mind. He had mentioned, almost as an aside, that Jordan seemed to be drifting away, a subtle remark that now seems laden with the weight of unsaid worries. I recall the calm yet deliberate tone he employed, as if trying to mask his own uncertainties. In that moment, his eyes briefly betrayed a glimpse of concern that I had failed to fully comprehend. The conversation unfolded with measured pauses, each silence amplifying the significance of his every word. I remember sitting across from him in our modest living room, the dim light of the lamp drawing soft shadows on the walls. His voice was steady, but the undercurrent of something unspoken resonated with me long after the words had faded. I wonder now if my own preoccupations had blinded me to the early signs of a deeper change, a change that now manifests in the quiet corners of our home. As I sift through the fragments of our dialogue, a mix of regret and determination settles over me. I had been so absorbed in the day-to-day minutiae that I overlooked the subtle signals of Jordan's withdrawal. Every expression on his face, every pause in his conversation with me in the days preceding this morning, seems to whisper of hidden layers of emotion I never dared to probe. Was it the gradual shift in his demeanor, or the furtive glances he cast away when he thought no one was looking? The recollection of Charles's gentle admonitions, his cautious hope that I might reconnect with Jordan, now feels like both a missed opportunity and a call to action. The kitchen, with its familiar sounds and scents, becomes a quiet stage for introspection. I wander back to memories of that conversation, the slight tilt of his head when he mentioned the growing distance, the careful way he framed his observations as if to spare us both further discomfort. His words, intended as a bridge to understanding, instead became a mirror reflecting the unspoken vulnerabilities that now define our relationship with Jordan. There is a persistent, nagging question. Had I been too caught up in my own concerns to recognize the subtle shifts in him, or was it simply the inevitable drift that sometimes occurs in the delicate balance of family life? The room seems to hold its breath as I consider these thoughts. In the quiet hum of the morning, every sound, the gentle beep of the timer, the soft rustle of newspapers, becomes a reminder of the fragile nature of our everyday interactions. With each sip of coffee, I resolve to seek the truth behind Jordan's silence and to understand the hidden sorrow that may be lurking beneath his composed exterior. In this reflective solitude, the past conversation with Charles transforms from a distant memory into an urgent call to reconnect, to listen more intently, and to repair the quiet fissures that have begun to form within our small family circle. After a few moments lost in my own reflections, the soft strains of a jazz tune draw my attention to the staircase. Each measured step upward is accompanied by the gentle echo of a saxophone and muted piano chords flowing from Jordan's room. The music, delicate and subdued, carries a sense of wistful introspection that seems to mirror the quiet sorrow hidden beneath the surface of our everyday life. At the door, I pause, the muted melody guiding my steps as I approach. I push the door open slowly, careful not to disturb the fragile atmosphere that holds the room in a suspended, reflective mood. In the soft light, I see Jordan seated on the edge of his unmade bed. His gaze is fixed on a distant point, as if he is trying to unlock secrets that lie buried in the recesses of his mind. The room, scattered with sketches and worn books, feels like a sanctuary for his inner world, a space where words and emotions intermingle, yet remain just beyond the reach of understanding. He appears lost in thought, his expression a careful mask of indifference that conceals the turmoil beneath. The gentle strains of the jazz tune seem to speak directly to him, resonating with memories or feelings too complex to articulate. In that quiet moment, I realize that the music is both his refuge and his cry for help, a subtle language through which he communicates the weight of his inner life. I decide to stand a few paces away, not wanting to force him out of his reverie, but also feeling an undeniable urge to offer him comfort and a reminder that he is not alone. I settle on a chair by the window, the soft light filtering in around us, and watch him quietly. There is a profound beauty in his introspection, a fragile vulnerability that speaks of unspoken struggles and a longing for understanding. I take note of the way his fingers lightly tap against his knee in sync with the rhythm of the music, a physical manifestation of the internal cadence he seems to follow. My heart aches with a deep compassion, and I silently vow to reach out to him, to bridge the gap that has grown between us. For a while we exist in a delicate silence, the room filled with the unhurried notes of the jazz composition and the steady beat of our intertwined lives. I consider the possibility that this shared quiet could be the beginning of a renewed connection, a slow, deliberate step toward understanding his inner world. The music, far from being merely a background detail, becomes a gentle thread binding us together in our shared solitude. In that room, amid the soft glow of the early morning light and the echo of tender notes, I realize that every note of the melody is a reminder. The path to healing often begins with simply listening, and as the music fades into a soft afterword, I remain there, quietly determined to listen to Jordan's silent call and to find the words that might one day bridge the distance between us. Stepping outside, the cool morning air greets me with a gentle caress, its briskness both invigorating and oddly soothing. The city of Austin unfolds before me in its quiet elegance, a contrast to the inner storm that churns within. I decide that a spontaneous walk might offer a momentary escape from the tangled emotions at home. The streets are bathed in the soft glow of the early sun, and though the day is clear, a hint of chill in the air reminds me that summer in this city can be unpredictable. With each step I take along the tree-lined sidewalks, my mind drifts between the remnants of yesterday's conversation and the unresolved questions lingering in every corner of my life. The familiar rhythm of my footsteps mingles with distant city sounds, a dog barking playfully in the distance, a car engine humming by, and the occasional murmur of early risers starting their day. The movement offers me a temporary reprieve from the heavy silence of the apartment, a chance to collect my scattered thoughts. Just as I round a corner by a small, bustling cafe, my phone buzzes. I pull it from my pocket and see a message lighting up the screen. A text from Rebecca, an old friend whose kindness and spontaneous invitations have often served as a balm in troubled times. Her message is cheerful yet earnest, inviting me to the opening of a new contemporary art exhibition. The idea of fresh perspectives and creative expressions, so unlike the heavy undertones of my current reality, sparks a sliver of curiosity and hope. Intrigued and longing for a change of scenery, I decide to accept her invitation. The notion of immersing myself in art, in an environment that celebrates both chaos and order, offers a temporary distraction from the overwhelming emotions at home. As I continue my walk, the streets gradually lead me toward the gallery district, a vibrant area where the past and present seem to coexist in a playful dance. Murals on brick walls and the hum of creative energy infuse the air with a sense of possibility. With every step, I feel a subtle shift inside me. The brisk walk under the awakening city sky feels like a metaphor for a journey I've long needed to take, one that leads me away from the echoes of yesterday and toward something entirely new, something that promises understanding and perhaps even renewal. The invitation from Rebecca, unexpected as it is, seems like a sign, a chance to experience life beyond the confines of my current worries. As I approach the art gallery, my pace quickens slightly with anticipation. The building itself exudes a modern charm, its sleek lines and expansive windows reflecting the vibrancy of the art within. I pause for a moment outside, taking a deep breath to steady the fluttering of my thoughts. Today, as I embrace this unplanned walk, I step forward not only into the gallery, but also into a realm of possibilities, one where art, friendship, and the simple act of wandering may help mend the frayed edges of my heart. As I round another bustling corner on my way to the gallery, the soft hum of the city suddenly shifts into a more intimate cadence. Standing outside a small, warmly lit coffee shop, I pause, feeling as if fate had placed me exactly where I needed to be. Inside, the inviting aroma of freshly ground beans and baked pastries offers a promise of comfort and clarity, a stark contrast to the turmoil that has shadowed my morning. I step into the cafe and find a quiet corner table near a window that overlooks the lively street. Moments later, a tall, well-dressed man with a thoughtful gaze approaches. His presence is both familiar and unexpectedly comforting. This is Marcus, a local writer whose candid insights and gentle humor I have often admired from afar. We exchange a brief, knowing smile, as if silently acknowledging the unspoken burdens that have drawn us together on this day. Over a cup of rich, dark coffee, our conversation unfolds with an effortless intimacy. Marcus listens intently as I share fragments of the day's earlier revelations, the subtle signs of disquiet at home and the weight of unsaid words. His eyes, warm and understanding, reflect a depth of empathy that makes me feel seen in a way I hadn't experienced in some time. In return, he speaks of his own recent encounters with life's unpredictable turns, the highs and lows woven into the tapestry of everyday existence. His words, careful and unhurried, seem to offer a mirror to my own struggles without ever being intrusive. We navigate our dialogue with a balance of sincerity and lighthearted wit. Marcus recalls a recent encounter with a stranger whose brief exchange of ideas on the nature of change had stirred something profound within him. As he speaks, his voice carries the cadence of a poet, each sentence measured yet alive with genuine emotion. I find myself drawn into the cadence of his narrative, each word resonating with the rhythm of the morning and the quiet hope of renewal. There's no need for grand declarations. The simplicity of shared thoughts and subtle acknowledgments feels more genuine than any scripted assurance. The cafe itself, with its soft background music and the gentle clatter of cups, serves as a cocoon where time seems to slow down. Outside, the city continues its ceaseless motion, but here, in this small haven, our conversation takes on the quality of a discreet respite, a moment of refuge where we allow ourselves to breathe, to reflect, and to trust that even in uncertainty, there are moments of connection that can light the way forward. As we finish our coffee, the conversation lingers in the space between us, a reminder that amidst life's unpredictable chapters, there is solace to be found in genuine human interaction. Marcus's parting words, spoken softly and with a hint of promise, affirm that sometimes it is through these candid encounters that we discover the strength to face our own reflections and move one step closer to understanding our hearts. With a final nod and a quiet smile, we part ways, leaving me with the comforting warmth of a shared moment that now anchors my day in hope and quiet determination. Returning home earlier than anticipated, I carry with me the lingering warmth of my recent coffee encounter, unaware that the tranquility of the day would soon shatter like fragile glass. The familiar creak of the front door welcomes me back, yet something about the silence inside is unnervingly off-key. A subtle foreboding tugs at my heart as I step into the living room, a space that until now had held memories of laughter and shared dreams. In the gentle luminescence of the fading afternoon, I catch sight of an unfamiliar figure. There, in the quiet center of our living room, stands Charles, uncharacteristically not in the crisp attire of a conference-goer, but dressed in the relaxed clothing of home. The sight freezes me in place. Beside him, a woman whose presence I have never seen before sits with an ease that betrays a deep familiarity. They are together in an embrace that seems both tender and chillingly intimate, the scene unfolding like a slow-motion revelation of a truth I had never dared imagine. My breath catches, and the world around me falls into a surreal, suspended stillness. Every detail is etched into my mind. The soft murmur of their quiet conversation, the way the light falls on their intertwined silhouettes, and the unmistakable scent of her perfume mingling with the air of our home. It is as if time itself has conspired to accentuate this moment of betrayal, leaving me both paralyzed and painfully aware of each heartbeat echoing in the silence. The shock is overwhelming, and the raw pain of betrayal surges through me like a tidal wave. In that single, heart-wrenching instant, every doubt, every unspoken fear crystallizes into a painful certainty. The trust I had built over years, the promise of fidelity that I had so often clung to, now lies broken on the floor beside me. Emotions swirl in a chaotic symphony: grief, anger, disbelief, all merging into a single poignant silence that speaks louder than any words ever could. Despite the turmoil raging within, I find myself rooted in place, watching as the couple remains oblivious to my presence. The quiet intimacy they share, once a simple interaction between familiar souls, now transforms into a scene of irreversible change. With every passing second, the weight of the reality becomes more pronounced, carving deep lines of sorrow across my heart. I long for an explanation, a glimmer of the man I once knew in Charles, but the silence offers no comfort. In that devastating moment, the sanctuary of home becomes an arena of shattered dreams and unspoken truths. As I retreat into the shadows of the corridor, the weight of what I have witnessed settles within me. The betrayal is both personal and profound, a stark reminder that even the closest bonds can unravel when trust is compromised. And so, with a heavy heart and trembling resolve, I step away, knowing that the path ahead will demand a confrontation with truths I never wished to face. Night has finally draped the city in a soft, contemplative darkness as I step outside, seeking solace in the cool air that offers a temporary escape from the chaos inside. The earlier shock still lingers like a shadow, and with every step, the heaviness in my heart seems to guide me through empty streets lit by the gentle glow of streetlights. I find myself wandering without destination, each moment a silent conversation with my inner turmoil. As I round a quiet corner near a small park, I unexpectedly find Marcus waiting by a lamppost, as if he sensed my unspoken need for comfort. His presence, familiar and quietly reassuring, brings a subtle warmth into the chill of the night. We exchange a look laden with mutual understanding, two souls drawn together in a moment of shared vulnerability. His eyes, reflective and kind, offer an invitation to step away from the overwhelming burdens of our separate worlds, if only for a few minutes. Our conversation is sparse, the silence between words filled with emotions too intricate to articulate. There is no need for elaborate explanations or rehearsed lines. The mere proximity of another compassionate presence suffices. In this delicate space, the boundaries between grief and solace begin to blur, and a quiet intimacy takes hold. Marcus gently reaches out, his hand brushing against mine in a gesture that speaks of both caution and care. The contact, light and unassuming, stirs within me a mix of hope and apprehension. Without planning or prelude, our eyes meet and, in a fleeting yet profound exchange, our lips find one another in a brief, hesitant kiss. It is not a kiss of passion, nor is it meant to erase the pain of betrayal. Rather, it is a tender acknowledgement of our mutual need for connection amidst the turbulence of our emotions. The kiss lingers for only a few heartbeats, an interlude of fragile warmth in a night otherwise heavy with uncertainty. As we part, the simplicity of that moment remains imprinted in my memory. The kiss was neither a promise of salvation nor an escape from reality, but a quiet affirmation that even in the midst of overwhelming sorrow, a shared moment of human contact can offer a glimpse of solace. The cool night air, the soft glow of the streetlights, and the unspoken understanding in Marcus's eyes together create a mosaic of subtle reassurance. We stand there for a moment longer, words unnecessary, as we each silently acknowledge that while our lives have taken sudden, painful turns, there remains an unyielding capacity to find a measure of comfort in the simplest, most unexpected gestures. With a gentle nod and a quiet farewell, we part ways, each carrying the weight and warmth of that uncertain embrace into the unfolding night. The first light of morning spills softly into the apartment, casting long shadows that gently merge with the remnants of the night. Today, the air carries a quiet promise, a chance to rebuild what has been fractured and to face the raw honesty of our shared lives. As I prepare for the day, each movement in the kitchen feels deliberate, a silent prayer for clarity and healing. The sorrow of yesterday, the betrayal and the unexpected solace in a fleeting kiss all swirl together as I steel myself for a conversation that has long been overdue. In the early hours, while the world outside still slumbers, I find myself sitting at the dining table with a sense of fragile resolve. I know that this day must mark the beginning of an earnest effort to mend the subtle ruptures in our relationship. I approach Jordan's room with a mixture of trepidation and hope. The door stands slightly ajar, a quiet invitation to step into the space that holds his inner world. I knock softly, and after a long moment, his eyes meet mine with a glimmer of uncertainty that mirrors my own. Sitting down beside him on the edge of his unmade bed, I begin, voice gentle yet steady. "Jordan," I say, "we all make mistakes, adults and young ones alike. I've been thinking a lot about what happened, about what we might learn from it, and how we can start putting things right." My words are simple, meant not to chastise, but to open a door toward understanding. For a moment, silence settles between us, a silence filled with all the unspoken apologies, the quiet admissions of hurt, and the deep yearning for a connection that feels lost. Jordan's gaze shifts, his expression softening as he listens. I feel like I'm losing myself, he finally admits, voice low and tentative, as though admitting a secret too heavy to bear. In that confession, I see the silent cry for help, a signal that our unspoken distance has grown into a gulf neither of us intended. I respond, choosing my words with care. We are both learning every day. It's not about perfection, but about finding the courage to be honest, with ourselves and with each other. As the morning unfolds, we navigate through our tangled emotions like cautious travelers charting a new course. I share memories of moments when laughter filled the corridors of our home, when our connection felt unbreakable. In return, Jordan speaks of his struggles, of feeling adrift in a world that sometimes seems too vast and confusing for someone his age. Together, we confront the complexity of our shared past, acknowledging that while errors have been made, they need not define the future. In the light of this new day, our dialogue deepens, filled with small gestures, a supportive nod, a gentle squeeze of the hand that begin to bridge the gap of isolation. We talk not only about the wounds, but also about our hopes, the possibility of learning from our missteps, of building a home where trust can slowly be restored. With every exchange, a seed of understanding is planted. There is no magic cure here, no instantaneous resolution, only the steady, often painful work of opening up and reaching out.